Street.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to come and make this presentation tonight. I'm here with the principals and the chef of the Salem Group. Many of them are familiar with you. You're familiar with them because they were here December of 2012. To my left is Alex Herrera, who is the chef. And then we have Clara Diaz, who is one of the owners of the corporation. And we have Nestor Patino, who's the president of the Salem Group. And their DBA is Rigoletto. So Support Monopoly has no place in terms of this application, other than they are the lessee of the property. So they were before you, I think, in December 12th, seeking your support to the transfer of the license from Support Monopoly. It's beer, wine, and cordials. The licensing board. I'm sorry. 12:30. I have the license somewhere, but I think it's 12:30. The same license time that they had.
Are there any restrictions on it, like food with alcohol, anything like that?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, there might have been at the hearing, but I was, as you know, it's not part of the process.
That's how it's been transferred?
Yes.
So
But
you
we
guys-
would certainly be, we would certainly be amenable to that kind of condition in any event. They were granted the license by the Boston Licensing Board, but as many of you are more than aware, they have not been able to open. So all of 2013, basically, they've been closed. Let me first apologize on behalf of the original representations they made to you, which was that they were going to basically remain the coffee shop with the paninis and the ice cream but it did have a beer and wine license in cordials, which is, I guess, consistent with cafes here in the North End. But in any event, it soon became apparent to them that it was not going to be financially feasible for them to operate and meet their financial obligations, even with the expanded menu that they talked with you about, which was like some sandwiches and some salads and some sort of new twist on the menu. However, they thought if they upgraded the kitchen equipment and they changed the menu slowly, they would be able to basically expand it and hopefully be able to really run a successful operation as they went along. Now, they have what's called an Article 37. I mean, you people know this, because you've dealt with this for a long time. Article 37 on their certificate of occupancy, which is the use item for a restaurant. They weren't aware that anything beyond the cafe menu, that other than coming back to you, which they should have done, that they would have had to have had any kind of zoning appeal. But they found out soon enough because they engaged a contractor to put some new kitchen equipment in, and they then received a stop work order from Inspection Services around May 2nd. And actually, they got the permit. They filed a permit on May 2nd, which actually spoke to a lot of kitchen renovations. They were relocating some of the convection oven. They were taking out and rebuilding the countertop. They were basically installing some gas and electrical, etc. But in any event, Inspection Services felt that they went beyond the scope of that permit, so they issued the stop work order. They had even filed at that time a sheet metal application, which was designed to install the exhaust system that is required for the expanded menu that they were anticipating. And so as a result, they had to, in June, file a new long form, basically spelling out what they wanted to do. That was reviewed by the plans examiner, and the determination was made. I believe you have copies of the appeal and the refusal letter. And a determination was made that they would need to go to the Board of Appeal because they were expanding beyond the non-conforming use that they currently held. And while I have some differences of opinion around that, the point is we're going in. I mean, we're going to basically do what we have to do, and certainly want to make certain that we comply with all the requirements of the City of Boston. I got involved with this at the end of August, just so you all know. So all of the stuff that was happening from December, January, February, March, April, May, I wasn't even around, but they did come to me in August, and they asked me to take a look at things, and it really, a lot of resolutions had to happen, and I was involved with Inspection Services and inspecting the property myself, going down, talking to them about what is it you wanted to do, finding out what you did, what Gura did, to be able to sort of put it all together and see what we came up with. So at this point, we're back with you tonight to basically say, they're back on a second bite of the apple. They have modified the menu. As you can see, it is a full-service menu. Alex has 10 years of experience being a really top-line chef, so he knows what he's doing, and wants to really present that in a fashion that will obviously be successful for them and for the community. And we we know that, restaurant use is conditional in the recommend, and as a result, that's why they're before the Board of Appeals, because they feel that they're going beyond the original the approval that they were given back, I think in originally 1993, they were given approval as a coffee shop along with other things, and then they subsequently, I believe, got a beer and wine license with the cordials, and then in 2009, they went back for a takeout license. They're not interested right now in a takeout license, but so the prior owners have been back and forth to the ZBA, getting different tweaks on their license, if you will. Well, let me tell you that the footprint of the restaurant is not changing at all. The kitchen, the actual size of the kitchen isn't changing. It's just the configuration of the various pieces of equipment. The seating's going to remain the same at 40. The kitchen will have upgraded equipment. And I will tell you that once they got involved, they engaged a good architect. And he basically sat them down. We sat down with Tom McAdams from Inspectional Services Health Division, went through each and every component that is required in a full kitchen, so that you're going to be in compliance probably better than a lot of people as far as the actual operation of the kitchen is concerned. Now the exhaust system components is something that obviously I had to look into as well. But the guy, Jim Stewart, who actually does this type of work, he filed a sheet metal application like way back, somewhere along the way. Sometimes you just can't make heads and tails of what those applications were, when they were filed, etc. But I do know now that it's currently been under review by Tom O'Donnell from Inspectional Services, who does all the fire plans reviews, and George McCabe, and I think they're pretty well satisfied that the plan itself, or the exhaust system, complies with all the rules and regulations. And obviously, once you install that sort of thing, you have to make sure that you comply with the Boston Fire Department requirements, that it's properly and frequently cleaned, and you have a procedure for making sure that there's no buildup of grease and that everything is maintained safely. So the plan that was filed does have design features, obviously, and what it is it's a hood system, obviously, for ventilation, and then it has duct work that runs through the back wall, and it goes up the back of the building, past the first roof line. I think it's a lower roof line, and then it travels up and over onto the mid-roof. So it's 10 feet off the edge of the roof, which means that it's going to be good as far as, the residents of 115 Salem and the residents of 44 Prince, which I understand is one of the buildings of concern, will not be adversely affected by it. It's going to mitigate any odors because of the way the system is designed. It's using 16-gauge sheet metal, which I guess is really, really good for reducing the likelihood of any kind of noise vibrations and things of that nature. So all of this is done in compliance. And we were hoping to get Jim Stewart to come tonight, but his schedule wouldn't allow it. He is going to be at a meeting on Thursday night, because we're going back to Blue Rock on Thursday night, and he can explain a lot of things that, maybe I can't. And I'm sorry for being here tonight, but I certainly invite everyone to come and listen to what he has to say as well. I also want to let you know that I talked with Phil about who we notify, and I sort of looked a little bit at NEWNC guidelines, and we really did send out, I thought, a lot of letters, 91 letters, and we sent to condos on Salem Street, Baldwin Place, and specifically on 44 Prince Street. And not only did we mail the owners, but if the owners had an address that was not the condo address, we mailed the owners, and then we put down tenant for that unit, so that that person would at least get a piece of mail. So we mailed out 91 letters. I think we've gotten 20 back as undeliverable, but we had hoped that that would generate some interest and have some people in attendance tonight. Maybe there are, I don't know. But basically, we did, to the extent possible, do outreach that we hoped would be helpful. So I mean, that's it, and I know you're going to have questions because I've done a little bit of research. So we're ready to answer any questions you have about the actual restaurant operation itself, and anything you have about the letter from the condo association, which, as you can see, is signed by the trustee, does address all the issues that anyone would want to address in terms of an installation of an exhaust system inside of a building. And as such, I guess it was issued in June of 13, and I've really tried to reconstruct all these timelines to sort of figure out when you might have gotten and not gotten copies of these things or whatever. But the fact remains that it is a letter signed by the trustee. I think many of you are members of condominium associations. Others might have practiced. I haven't practiced that much with them, but I do know that once the trustee's name is filed with the Registry of Deeds, and there's a certificate on file that the person is in fact a trustee, you should be able to rely on that letter as in fact something that represents a fact. So that's number one. Number two is the condominium documents to allow for a restaurant, not just a coffee shop. In fact, they're very specific. They say restaurant, coffee shop, retail in C1 and C2, which is two commercial units. As such, I mean, implicit in that is the installation of the necessary restaurant equipment. Otherwise, how could you actually, buy and have, reliance on that so you could actually open a restaurant? So that's number two. The trustee was certainly aware of the fact that these people were looking to install. I mean, as you know, Mr. Grimaldi is the actual owner of the unit. He negotiated and established a lease with them again, which I was not part of, but obviously allows for the operation of a restaurant as long as they get all the proper approvals. So I think that in terms of that letter, I mean, it speaks for itself. I know that there have been issues. I mean, if the condo owners actually did have any questions about whether or not there should be a restaurant, I mean, when you buy a commercial unit, if it says you can have a restaurant, then I think, I'm not quite sure how you would always compromise the use of that unit, especially since, you bought it on that basis. So that's all I'll say for now, and I'm sure that maybe you have some questions, and we'll be glad to answer them.
Do you have questions on the question?
I appreciate you going into such detail regarding the use of the system. And I apologize if I may, as there's still factors. As you just pointed out, this letter from the condominium trust only addresses the installation of the exhaust system, and as you said, it was dated June 20th, so it's a little less than 9 months ago. What, if anything, has changed regarding all the details about the exhaust system since the condo trust authorized us almost 9 months ago?
Well,
As opposed to maybe a month ago.
Yeah, I don't think anything has, because it's this very strange situation where I have the actual application, the sheet metal guy filed with ISD, and it goes back a while, and somewhere along the way, I was told that the contractor, filed it, it was signed by, of course, this man who was licensed, his license number was on it, etc. And they wanted him to add a few more doors on the ductwork so that they could get in there and clean when necessary. And so he did that, and supposedly that was actually approved by ISD. But somehow or other they can't find it. So that's why we're going through the process again. But it's this, the plan I handed out to you, I have the large copy. That is the plan that the trustee is aware of. So I can certainly send that along again. I can't believe it. It's the same plane you would have, it's a large plane, signed by an engineer, scanned by an engineer.
I'm having a hard time reading these plans. So are they going to be on the side of the building, the exhaust, right?
I think
Going up the side of the building,
runs up the back.
The back.
Yeah.
The back of the building.
but past windows and stuff like that, right?
Sorry?
Past people's windows.
No, you won't pass on because it's the same procedure at the pizzeria next to us.
Yep.
The same way. It goes to the back.
Yep.
It passes the back. It go up all the way up to the roof. Goes in the middle of the roof, and they install the big
Yep.
in the middle of the
Like a
roof.
mushroom.
Yes, correct.
But the people who have those condos who have windows looking out the back, that's not going to run by their window.
No, it's not gonna run by the way.
I do have a larger, this is the one I was talking about, but it is actually dated 5/5/13, stamped by the engineer, and it's the exact same thing as you have. I wish Mr. Stewart was here tonight, so he could really explain it a lot better than I can, but it does run up the back, and what they were telling you is that because they're placing the fan, which obviously takes the fumes out and also takes the clean air in the middle of the roof, it will really mitigate any of the aromas, if you will, but smells that might come out of it. So, I can show this to you, but I'm not sure, it says it's not to scale. That's the big copy of the smaller one. And also, I also gave the president a copy of a letter from Mr. Jim Stewart. It's dated February 25th, a couple of weeks ago. And it says, to whom it may concern, install 13 feet by 54 inches by 24 inch makeup, it must be inches, 13 by 15 by 24 makeup air hood system with filters and lights, 16-gauge welded ductwork through lower roof level, then run 5 stories to top of roof. Utility blower mounted on top of roof on isolators. And isolators are these things that mitigate noise. Fans run very quietly, unheated makeup, ear, and ductwork, odor control system mounted input controllers. I'll give you this last one. I had one other that I gave to. Phil.
I have a question, just to take some focus off of the ventilation system for a second. You said that you've already been approved by the licensing board. How were you able to go in front of the licensing board when you never came back in front of us again? So how were you able to get approved from the licensing board without the neighborhood groups going in front of the neighborhood groups?
From what I understand, and they can respond to it, from what I understand from having talked to the lawyer was, they were originally scheduled like November 28th before the licensing board. It was deferred to come and meet with maybe you or New Rock or both or one, whatever. They came back, I believe, on December 18th here, and like on December 20th, the board voted, because they will hold, you'll hold them, but they don't hold them for so long, and I guess they voted to grant. Remember, on a transfer too, it's the fitness of the management as opposed to the public need, because the public need was already established at the location. So the standard is a little bit low. So I assume that the board voted on their own. There was no group hearing. And at that point, the attorney, I guess, decided that there was probably no need to come back, to seek your further approval, and proceeded forward. And I would have done it that way, but and I'm not sure if Nicole was at that or not.
They never went back to us. They never showed up.
No, I know. So I hear.
It's what she said, the attorney didn't, she said that I was fine for us not to show up, so we were represented by her.
Who said?
Miriam, the attorney, we have Miriam Cisaros.
Said
That was the previous
you have
attorney.
to come back to us after you had scheduled to come back to us?
Correct.
I would have, I don't know all the details. I do know that, probably unbeknownst to her 2 days later, because once they defer, they hold it, and then sometimes the board decides, and they have to usually, they don't defer more than 30 days, and I think they would defer until the meeting. Whether or not they went back and said we met with them, they're waiting for a letter. I think she said she did send out a letter to you guys, and that the letter responded to your concerns. Now, I don't know if there was a letter December 12, 2012, maybe, relative to approving the transfer from Sapori to Rigoletto.
Maybe she sent it with this letter that was never provided in 2012 as well.
No, but that one didn't go until 13.
Is that letter from June, regarding the exhaust system dated June 20, 2013, is that supposed to be, are we supposed to imply that that is the letter of support from the condos?
No, there's another letter.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Well, although, again, it's for a law, it's just true that if you get a letter that's filed by the trustee who said that, we agreed, to authorize them to put it in the system, assuming they meet these conditions, then one has to assume that they approve the restaurant, although they can't hold back the consent to the restaurant because it's not part of the unit to be allowed to do that.
I think we just don't like to operate under assumptions and have people present what's before us. So rather than say, well, this letter should assume that they are in support, especially given the fact that the issue of this was, there was a big discussion as to whether they were to begin with. So that's
Yeah,
where
I
we're
know.
coming from. I understand that you haven't been
I
involved,
looked at the video, all 50 minutes of both organizations, and I heard what people said, and I would have done it differently because, I think to some extent they're kind of new to this community, and maybe the advice they got wasn't so good. And the other thing is, I think you go into sometimes these situations thinking you're going to be able to swing it, and a lot of times people haven't put their business plans together in a way that really is based on reality. And so, given the fact that they've had the opportunity to do this at that location, and that he's got the experience, and they looked at that first, I guess, cut at an expanded menu and I remember hearing, I think Clara was saying how they had gone to Italy and they had someone come in and give them a lesson on sort of, new and novel ways of doing the menu, and that could constitute some of the expansion of the menu, that maybe all that, was something that they felt would be sufficient, but obviously
So are you saying they got the license in December, and after that they decided that they were gonna change the nature of the business to more of a restaurant, including installing a bar with 9 people?
The bar was always there.
Okay.
Yeah, that bar was set up as, cafe style.
Well, I mean, it wasn't always there, there is a gelato machine now. I mean, it was before you guys started working there. But you guys, after you got the license, you decided to change the nature of it to a different kind of service, right?
Yeah, I mean, and again, this non-conforming use stuff sometimes does not, it's not common sense to people. I think they assume that you got a restaurant, you got a C of O, C of I that says Article 37 restaurant. If you look at the zoning code, it actually does allow under 37 to have a restaurant. So that combined with, the financial obligations and they proceeded and obviously found that they couldn't do that. But not only that, I mean, once the stop work order was given and the new long form was filed to be more specific, there was just this back and forth with ISD that never went anywhere. So when they came to see me in August, I got engaged, and admittedly, there was more back and forth. They didn't, I don't have to tell you guys what it's like sometimes, but.
It's so confusing because you did everything so out of order. So you got, we had the mishap here. You gave us letters that were 10 years old and completely bogus.
Well, I wouldn't
we
say
asked-
that, Tony, but you're right.
But you didn't see the part of the tape after it was shut off. You didn't hear the conversation that happened after the cameras were shut off. And I actually examined all the documents myself. And then we tried to call people that said, we don't know what you're talking about. I mean, it was a disaster. You have to admit it was a disaster. I don't know what happened at Nora, but coming in front of us was a disaster. So that passes. You set another date. You don't show up for whatever reason you got bad advice. So you don't show up, but then you come and you go in front of the licensing board. The licensing gives you a license, and then you decide that after you got the license, you want to change what the proposal was that you went in to get the license in the first place. So, I mean, like it sounds like you're all over the map, and now what is it that you want us to approve? Just the ventilation system?
Well,
I mean, you already have your license, so.
Well, yeah, because we go before the zoning board of appeals. And again, sitting here, I feel bad because that's not how I do business. And I certainly would have, been upfront about maybe what the possibilities were for this location, et cetera. But it is what it is. So now we're trying to come back and be more, forthright. But they were approved because at that time, they were published, I guess, and the licensing board heard them. And as I told you, the only criteria is whether or not they're fit to manage this license, because the license has already been, the decision that there's a public need that exists at the location has already been determined when you're just transferring on
Yeah,
at the spot.
but it was used as a coffee shop before, and you're turning it into a restaurant.
No, I'm just saying how the license got approved.
Yeah.
So then after that, they start this, renovation work, and they get shut down. Now, meanwhile, the license is in effect. So at the end of this year, I had to tell the licensing board what was going on, because they're not open and operating, but they paid this money for this license. So, of course, they understand business situations. So they did grant them the license, for 2014. So that is in place. And the thing that is not in place is the zoning, the restaurant use that would allow them to operate in expanded use. And that's because, so that's why the zoning appeal, I mean, I was confused for weeks, asking IC, what are you saying is not right here? So finally they said, they've got to install the equipment. Once they get the okay for that, they can open and operate. But in order to install the equipment, they're expanding the non-conforming use. So now you have to get approval.
Okay, so now we have a letter that only pertains to the ventilation system dated June 20th, 2013. So has the condominium association been informed of all the changes to the menu with the non-conforming use? Where's your current letter?
Well, a couple of things, number one, I can get you a current letter, but you only install a ventilation system when you're gonna do cooking, real cooking, and so that speaks for itself. Secondly, is there was a letter dated in December, basically saying that they authorized, which they really don't have to, maybe they want this, they authorized the transfer.
I think what we're worried about is the people who own a condo,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden they're gonna have a 13 by 13 inch steel thing attached to the side of it. And, I mean, we don't know what, the trustee doesn't live in that building, I don't know the state of it, we had some questions about the state of the condo association. Is anybody here from that building, or, which is another problem?
Well, and again, the building has 16 residential units and two.
I'm from 44 Prince, Paul Valentine, and we've never been notified about this, or had a chance to discuss it, and this is absolute news to us.
Brian Blinn, one of the trustees, was mailed.
That's one trustee.
Well, I
55
know, we
units
mailed
there.
out 91 letters,
And
it's
Brian
like,
Flynn, by the way, is almost never there. I am a trustee, I've
Okay.
not heard about it.
we've used the usual channel, which is this group, and done what they said, which is 91 letters. I mean, 44 is not the directed butter, but we want way beyond
We are a
that.
directed buyer.
But you're in the rear,
Oh,
yeah.
that's a directed buyer.
Well, that's where the stagnant is going.
Yeah, no,
That's- we
and
will
that's
see
why,
that stuff.
that's why we did that. There's like, how many units are there in?
55, so you said earlier that you contacted all those people, really you didn't.
Well, the reason you have trustees is for them to notify the condo owners.
That you
that they
notified
received.
all the trustees. Notified one's not enough. But this is absolute news to us.
I'm gonna say it's a red flag all over the place. A lot of talking.
I'm sorry?
Red flags everywhere.
Yeah,
A lot of talking for no reason.
yes.
How many trustees are there?
So it's 5 of us,
But
Would you like to make a motion?
55 units.
No? You want to make a motion?
Ask questions.
well, we get the.
More questions from the audience?
Any more questions from the council?
This is, why is it signed by the Board of Trustees? Board of It's an association.
How many trustees are at that building?
One.
Just one?
So again, that's the sole trustee.
Yeah.
fellow trustees.
How many owners are in the building?
There's 16, well, how many owners are in the building? That thing might be you. When it says ESES beside it, it means that there's a tenant in there, so, I think, it's very few are, owner occupied, but you can see when it says, let's see. I mean, almost, even though like Manuel Sakis and George Sakis have a 115 Salem Street address, the Deers came back. That's not deliverable. I mean, how can you not have your meals, right? Richard Geller and Jonathan Geller had 115 Salem Street as their address on assessing. Brian Urban and Sarah Lill.
She has like 5 signatures.
So what you have is Justin Brackett's came back. So everyone that's supposed to live there that I sent to, it comes
Yeah.
back. I mean,
Well, a lot of
I don't know what kind
times
of building it is,
the
but they
residents.
certainly are, I'll forget any kind of exemption.
A lot of rentals that happen sometimes because that list can be from.
Yeah, we know that. Yeah. But, we can only go by that list. So,
Did you like fly the building or anything? Did you fly the building at all?
no, we did send each and every, I told each and every unit, both owner and tenant, if it was, the tenant, if the owner didn't have a listing, having that address. So basically, just that building alone, I think we've sent almost every unit, probably 30 letters out of 6 to 18, 30, 40 letters.
Any other questions from the board? Audience?
Yeah, I just want to make it absolutely clear to the council that the support that Newra gave a year or so ago, whenever it was to the transfer of the license under existing conditions. That is, with 2 gelato cases and a K Street case, not a bar.
And all the rest.
Not a restaurant.
It's not a bar.
Well, no, the current floor plan
Oh,
was
you
a bar,
mean, well,
and Newra did not say bar.
I walked in there, there's a bar.
It's about, it used to be.
Yeah, there wasn't a bar.
When you say bar, you mean, there's a
Seating at a
seating at El
Yes.
Bar. And it wasn't even under, there was just that part that they tried to renovate in the back that was disheveled and stuff, but the bar itself was set up. I mean, that's where they had gelato and
The
beer
answer
and
is
wine.
no, it's not a bar serving alcohol. It's two gelato cases and a pastry case.
Well, then, if someone wanted to order a drink at that bar, they couldn't get it?
Really?
That's
Not,
the
not in the past, no.
Well, we would have no problem with there being a restriction on service of alcohol.
But unfortunately, the city already gave you a license under false pretenses, apparently, because you didn't say.
When we took over the place, there's a bar over there. There's stools over there. Before we buy it, we go there and drink wine at the bar. It used to be a bar where the cases are, the pastry cases are, and you walk all the way to the back. There used to be a bar over there where they used to serve wine and beer. And they had the stools over there.
Paul, did you have another question?
I just, as I say, this is news, and I don't know your procedures, but for me, we'd like to have a chance to take a look at it. It really
Well, we'd be
impacts us.
happy to meet with the trustees.
Then fine, we're meeting tomorrow. But before anything goes forward, I would ask that we at least have a chance to look at it.
Yeah, so trust me when I say this, I don't know if it's going to happen anyone else, but I personally don't want to make anything more difficult for you guys, but you guys don't seem organized at all.
Well, don't say that. I mean, I think they've been well organized since I got on board.
I mean,
There's a lot of things that happened in advance of my arrival. I can't change those. I'm just trying to rehabilitate it and make them do the right thing. So, anyway, sorry to interrupt.
Stephanie, you have-
I think you've already covered it, Phil, but I'll say it again. I think if you got an alcohol license transfer based on the old floor plan of Sephora Monopoly, then what you're presenting now is a change in that alcohol license. It's an 8 or 9 seat service bar for alcohol.
It's a 40 seat total, counting the bar and the regular seats at the tables. It's
How
not,
many seats was it before?
40.
40.
It's been 40, yeah. In the bar and in the floor.
I can't represent what happened at the licensing board because I wasn't there, but I'll say a couple of things about it. Number one, if necessary, we'll go back for an amendment to the description of the premises. And again, as when I was here the last time, there was a case in which there was that issue about whether or not people should eat in the bar, be served wine, beer, wine. It happens throughout the North End. It's just a question of whether or not, it's going to be restricted. But I mean, it's not. He doesn't want to run a bar. He wants to run a fine restaurant.
Well, but we're upset because the time to put those restrictions has passed. I mean, there is no restriction to food with
They don't have an open operating though, so it's not like they're violating every day.
So those
They don't have
license-
to comply though, they don't have to comply.
Yeah, those restrictions go on to the physical license and the closing hours, for an after dinner amaretto is one thing for a coffee shop, but if you guys are a restaurant and now you have a 12:30 closing time, which is rather late for that. So those restrictions, we don't have the chance to talk about as part of the neighborhood process anymore. We're a little troubled by that, but that's not what we're voting on right now. Anybody else have any questions?
What are we voting on?
I don't even know.
The
I really don't
installation
know.
of kitchen equipment.
I don't see a problem with that.
There were no restrictions on the license.
Exactly.
So, but I think this is probably the same license that Grimaldi, but I
Yeah.
have to go look it up.
Yeah, because his business was very different.
So we voted on just the installation of the ventilation system.
Yeah.
But again, is it possible that, we're butters, and this will impact us quite a lot. And is it possible that before any vote is taken, we can at least look at it? We haven't seen it. We haven't been contacted about it.
Anybody in your building seen it?
No, not that I'm aware of, but I'm a trustee.
So are you saying that there wasn't enough notification to the building, there was just the one?
I learned about this afternoon,
Yeah.
literally.
Can I ask you, Paul, how you did learn though?
I got an email from our management company.
When was the email sent?
No, 2 or 3 o'clock this afternoon, something like that.
So maybe it's their fault you didn't get it. Or maybe they had it for a while.
No.
They found out more today?
I got it from Nikki Rafter, so.
Okay, is there a motion to, anybody have a motion?
I motion, given the fact the issue with the abutters not being notified properly, I motion to table this vote First Employer de Napoli, seeking zoning relief to allow the installation of restaurant equipment until all
It's not
abutters.
supported Napoli.
I'm sorry.
Rigoletto.
Thank you, Rigoletto. Until all abutters have been properly notified, the two groups can come together and talk and discuss the installation of the new kitchen equipment. Board's vote now.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? It's 9-1. So, will you guys come back in the next meeting in April? Or
When is your next meeting? April what?
second Monday?
14th?
Can I just have a point of information? Clarification? You know, when you have to do notifications of abutters and it's vague, you think you're doing the best you can do.
Yep.
You know, it would be helpful if we knew who was asking abutters.
Yep.
I have to listen to people say that I didn't properly notify abutters when I sent out 91 pieces of mail. It was 46 cents, and I'm just saying, it wasn't like for lack of intention of
Yeah.
wanting everybody to know. And I'm sorry that 44 Prince Street felt like they're probably not accurately notified, but
And a lot of them get flyers.
can't get in the buildings.
If you can put a notice, I mean, I think we
You
have
can get our
flyers.
building. We have a concierge watching, we're there, back there now.
Well, we're happy to meet with your trustees. I don't know about tomorrow, but I'm certainly working on something. And I think I do something that I'll leave there. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you.